Hello, this is Lucas, and today we're going to be looking at the Masterpiece Ultra, or MPU, Masterpiece Scale Coneheads. So that is Thrust, Ramjet, and Dirge that's just been released. Thrust came out around about September of last year, 2024. So what these are is fourth party or knockoffs of the Takara Tomy Masterpiece MP-52 mould, but they go a little bit further than just being knockoffs because they each have their own additional engineering to turn them from a standard Seeker mould into the Conehead mould. What we're going to be doing today is just taking a quick look at them to give a clear idea of what they are, how they scale up to other offerings on the market, looking at robot mode and alt mode comparisons with some of the other contenders. I'm not going to be doing a transformation guide today. I may or may not transform these two so you can see them in their robot mode. I'm really just going to be giving an overview and a bit of a clarification as to quite what these are, because I still see when people share these in the groups on Facebook, etc., some people asking quite what they are, quite what scale they are, quite how they fit in with other Seekers on the market, other Coneheads on the market. So that's what we're going to be doing today, just taking a quick look at the MPU Masterpiece Ultra Coneheads. So we're going to take a quick look at the MPU Dirge first of all, to give you an idea of what you're going to get when you buy one of these. As mentioned, they are kind of a KO. So they do come in a original KO box. As you can see, they have called it Dirge. They've given them all their proper names. Big old box. And they come with everything you get with the MP-52 Seekers. You get a sort of standard format flight stand, and which works exactly the same as the Takara Tomy flight stands. I don't need to show you that. With the flight adapter that works in exactly the same way for the flight stand to clip in the bottom of the jet mode. They all come with alternate face sculpts. Quite subtle, but they are there. One of those is smoking, and there's a third face sculpt installed. They come with the blast effect boosters that fit into the afterburners perfectly well, and they come with the null rays that work in the same way as the M52 null rays, in that they transform into smaller mode for jet mode. They do come with, or at least Ramjet and Dirge come with, these additional parts to make the more tune accurate larger missiles or larger guns for the jet mode. And they work quite well. The way they work is you have to transform the null ray into the shorter missile mode, and it just clips in. And these seem to be painted. It's all pretty good quality finish. I'll get onto the sort of fit and finish in a moment. But as I said, you get everything you would expect to get with a Masterpiece Seeker. But as with the robot itself, with a little bit of extra stuff, a little bit of extra engineering. Let's get that clipped into there. So yeah, that's what you can expect to get. All the same stuff you get with MP-52s. Okay, so having a quick look now at the alt mode, the jet mode, in comparison with the original MP-52, and this is an authentic MP-52. This came out, by the way, just a little aside, MP-52 official was released around about June 2021, surprisingly, about 4 years ago now. The first of the MPU Coneheads was released late-ish last year, around about September 2024. It's kind of surprising that since the MP-52 molds came out from Takara, which the last of them, which was Skywarp, came out in early 2022. It is kind of surprising that Takara haven't done this, that they haven't yet done any repaints, certainly haven't done any remolds, and it's kind of surprising that it took a while for someone else to come along and do this. I know we've got the Make Toys. Make Toys have been making Seekers and Coneheads for quite some time now. I personally have never owned any of the Make Toys jets, so if you're hoping to see a side-by-side with the Make Toys today, I'm afraid we won't get that. I do have the official MP-52s, and I do have Deformation Space Crimson Wing, which we'll be taking a look at later. So yeah, Takara have been dragging their heels with this mold. They could be doing repaints galore, but they haven't been. So Masterpiece Ultra popped up last year, teased these cone heads, and in terms of scale, which is a bit of a hot topic with the various Seekers, they're the same. It's a straight KO in terms of size. Now, there is some remolding which leads to some differences, but it is the parts that are straight KO are straight KO, same size. And where the MPUs stray really is with what they do with the wings. The cone heads are a different shape, and the head sculpt, of course. And they've done some quite clever engineering of their own to make the wings work, to make, on all three of their molds, have different engineering to make the wings work differently. So it's kind of half a KO and half doing its own thing. But yeah, same size, fit in very well if you have the MP-52 mold Seekers. Okay, so we're just going to take a quick look at what I'm talking about with some of the engineering for the wing parts of these three. And as I mentioned, that because they're three very different designs, we've had to do very different things with each of the three of them. Let's have a look at this one first of all, although it is in robot mode. I mean, you can see there's a lot going on with the lower half of this, with the wings behaving very differently to how they do on the... Oh, I'll come to that later. That's the backfiller kit you can get, which is separate. So looking at... I've got a Thundercracker here. So the wings on the MP-52 mold end up at shoulder level up here. Whereas this is doing something completely different. They had to completely redesign it. And, you know, they've done a very good job of coming up with a solution. I'll quickly just unfold this to show you something about what's going on. I mean, sort of need a bit of an understanding of the transformation of these figures to get this. This comes around here. This comes around there. So, you know, there is the wing. And it folds up as well when it's in jet mode. But they've done a very good job of fold it back down. So yeah, it just calms down, clips in very securely down there, and the tail fin folds up and clips in very securely to give thrust is sort of standard shape, and you can manipulate these slightly down here if you wish. I think there was some debate when this came out as to quite where these wings should sit. but like I say, completely original engineering to redesign at least half of the transformation of this figure. And there's some other clever stuff going on with the other two as well. In terms of, let's just take these off of his wings. In terms of the wings for Dirge, this is Dirge, I get them mixed up. So you have the full wide wings here, but these for robot mode condense quite significantly. So these bits fold around to the back. I'll show you that again from this side. Come around and in. And this bit, oh no, they don't come around to the back, but it's a good way to get them transformed. This bit hinges down and clips into itself. And then there's a sort of arm that rotates. And then they collapse onto there. To give a much more, as per the robot mode, slender silhouette with the wings there. And this bit here is on a rotating arm and folds down and clips in down here. So, I mean, you can see where the legs will be. Let's put this one back out so you can see the comparison. So yeah, it goes from this large wing with the mini wing up there to the mini wing moved down and a much more slimline silhouette for the robot mode. So that's great. Again, great engineering. And even Ramjet has a cool little gimmick. So he's got these, again, a new feature, these large, let's take these off again to get these out of the way. It's got these large boosters both on top of the wings and under the wings when he's in jet mode. But of course in robot mode, these will be his legs. Let's fold these wheels out the way. And in the cartoon, this is the side of the wing that we're facing forwards. He didn't have these boosters visible. So these boosters will lift up, or at least the bottom half of them will, rotate and stow away to give him that flat wing without the booster on, which again is a neat little trick. Original engineering, solves a problem. Great. So like I am impressed. They're not just knockoffs. Yes, of course, it borrows very heavily from the MPU-02 mold. It is a knockoff, but it's a knockoff and then some. They go the extra mile, and they've done a great job. They have just teased, I think, renders for Sunstorm and Acid Storm, one of the Rainmakers. They are going to be straight KOs of the mold, so no need for extra engineering there. So looking forward to those too, because they've done a great job of these, and these took a lot of extra work. Let's just have a closer look at the robot mode now and start talking about how they match up in terms of tolerances and overall quality. Okay, so just before we bring in the MP-52 mold Thundercracker, let's have a quick look at Deformation Space Crimson Wing. Crimson Wing. So scale is a thing here with the Seekers, with these Coneheads, and some people say that the MP-52 mold is a bit too small. Obviously, if you've got the MP-52 Seekers, the MPU Coneheads will fit perfectly with your collection. If you have the Deformation Space Seekers, you can see there's quite a big size difference. this guy is certainly taller, considerably taller. You know, it's not the end of the world. Even if you display them immediately adjacent to one another, they are different characters, so it's entirely down to you and your personal preferences with your collection. But this is certainly fits in perfectly with the MP-52s, not so much with Deformation Space. I cannot speak for the Make Toys seekers. I've never owned any of them, and I don't personally care for them, so I'm not quite sure how it would fit in with those, I'm afraid. But yeah, I don't think it'd be the end of the world if they were at opposite ends of the shelf, certainly. So let's bring in Thundercracker and do a more direct comparison. Okay, so once again, the official Seekers came out between mid-2021 through to early 2022. And these guys started releasing late 2024 through to just round about now. Summer 2025 was when Dirge was released. So there's a little bit of time in between them. The original Masterpiece Seekers were, I mean, Takara Tomy, it's a big figure, big box figure. They were quite expensive. They came in at a little under £200. I think my Starscream was $190. The other few that came out were $180. You can pick them up for less now on the secondary market, especially as there's a few alternatives around. The MPU figures, this one cost me £63, so about a third of the price, which is incredible. Yeah, they've cost me between £63 and £65. So much more affordable. Yes, they are KOs, so you would expect perhaps some quality control issues, but there were widespread comments about quality control issues with the officials. So let's just address the bendy knee shenanigans. I did one of the very first YouTube videos about Transformers was a video I actually made to share with a friend about the bendy knee nonsense. I'll put a link to it in the comments. Because ultimately, the MP-52 mold did suffer from loose knees. But, you know, you can't always hold a figure by its legs and expect it to support the weight of the rest of the figure, especially when there's so much going on in the upper torso. But it was certainly looser than people might have liked for a premium figure. I put some floor polish on mine. They were okay, but that has been significantly improved. You know, I'm shaking it and it's not going. And maybe it's because the wings are supporting it a bit, but they're much more sturdy. They feel better built, especially for a third of the price. They're really solid. So I would not be concerned that you're going to get a loose KO version of the already loose MP-52 mold. They are very well built. They are very well painted. I did have, I mean, when I got my first copy of Thundercracker out of the box, he was covered in scratches and scuffs. That was not a widespread issue. I think I just got very unlucky and I did get an exchange. But all three of mine, the MPUs, have looked pretty great. I say that, this particular one had a small defect. It's a mould defect that you may be able to see here in the foot. So this bit of black plastic has a slight sort of flex and dent in the mould. But I am not concerned because in robot mode, it is the sole of the foot. And it's the piece that in jet mode, it's also underneath the undercarriage. It'd be this piece here. And the other two releases, I haven't had any paint defects, I haven't had any mold defects. My copy of Ramjet did come with the support stand of the flight stand entirely missing, but I bought mine from Showsy's store and they just sent me another one. So don't worry about the quality of the build, is I guess what I'm trying to say here. They've improved upon the original. You know, it's a very well built figure. One other slight, perhaps, criticism, which I've seen a few other people comment on, is in alt mode, this section doesn't quite tab together entirely neatly, but to be honest, it's a bit of a pain to get that section tabbed in on MPU-52 as well. It's a there's a whole lot of panels going on here, and it could be that out of the factory, because they ship in alt mode, it could be that if you transform them into robot mode, then transform them back into jet mode, which I haven't done yet. I transformed this guy one way, and I've yet to transform either of the other two. It could be that if you transformed it yourself back into alt mode, you could get it to fit together a bit more tidily than they did out of the factory. Oh yeah, and having moved him and touched his head, the only other common comment I've seen about them is that they have loose bobbly heads, but that's just a matter of, it's on a ball peg, a ball joint, and out of the factory they weren't properly put. All you have to do is push it forward on the peg, push it back on the peg, I think, push it and click it in, engage it, and it sorts out the bobblehead thing. So that was just not quite fully together. So yeah, I would say no notable issues with the MPU, as opposed to quite widespread complaints about looseness on the MP52, which weren't terrible, could be fixed with polish, not something you should have to fix with polish, but I think it's an excellent mould. I love the look of it. It's a bit more curvy and friendly and cartoony than Crimson Wing, which is a bit more sort of blocky. Of course, Crimson Wing has the waist swivel and arguably a better ab crunch, whereas this has the same limitations in terms of waist swivel as the MPU-52 mould. But it's a very strong recommend from me, especially at this price point. Some people do prefer the Make Toys, and Make Toys have got a very wide range, increasingly wide range of options for their Seekers and their Coneheads, if that's the way you want to go that way. But we haven't seen any other third-party tease Seekers in the near future. There were a few other options in the past. Zeta, and Spider did some ones that looked terrible. But no, if you need some Coneheads, I would strongly recommend you go for these, and I would strongly recommend you keep an eye on Masterpiece Ultra, because the Seeker repaints they are coming out with could massively bolster your Seeker collection, which is what's going to end up happening for me. I didn't plan on having a multicolored Seeker collection, but I'm very much looking forward to the Rainmakers and to Sunstorm, who I initially mistook for one of the Rainmakers, but it's not, it's something else. So, I'll just possibly do a quick summary. I may transform the other two, because it'd be a shame not to see them all in robot mode. I haven't transformed them yet. So, yeah, maybe I'll go away, get them all into robot mode, and then do a summary. Okay, so here I am back again with the transformed cone heads, all three of them together, and they look great. Oh, I've got his little raised the wrong way. I used MGO's MP52 just transform it video, and then just managed with the sort of wing sections. I'll put a link in the description. I'll also put a link in the description to TM Reviews, because he has done a review of the Ramjet figure, certainly. Probably of Thrust as well. I don't know if there's any reviews of Dirge out yet, because it's literally just dropped as I record this. But I'm sure all your favourite reviewers will be looking at Dirge soon as well. So yeah, the transformation, it's much the same as MP52, but obviously with some variations for the wings per figure. It's nice to see, I've sort of reminded myself looking at them all together that all three of these come with the same three face sculpts, I believe. A shouty one, a stoic one, and a smirky one. But they have gone to the trouble of giving them different finishes. We have the metallic paint on the face for Ramjet with red eyes. We have the dark grey paint with red eyes for Dirge, and light grey paint with golden eyes for Thrust. So again, they could have just been lazy and just chucked out the same thing, but they've gone to the effort with these. They've made each of them unique as far as they can. One thing I haven't mentioned is the gimmick of the chest missiles lifting up. All of them have that. One slight note in terms of QC is some looseness on the smaller wing on Dirge, which there is a screw here, but doesn't seem that I can tighten it. But it's just very slightly loose, and it does hold in place. So it's absolutely fine for display. And a little bonus review here, you'll notice these bits. This is a extra kit. You can get a back filler kit currently available from a few retailers. I got these from Shozy for, I think, less than £10 for the set of 3. And what this does is, as you can see, there's one in place and not in place on this side. It just clips in and covers the back. It's pretty basic, pretty simple, but what do you expect for less than £3 a figure? They come in 2 different colours. The ones for Thrust and Ramjet are black. The ones for Dirge are grey to match the colourings of the figures. And they all just go in exactly the same way. Just clip in place. They're certainly not crucial. These actually fit in place better than the ones on Thrust, which didn't quite line up, but they line up quite nicely on Ramjet, and just tidy up the back slightly where there's some of that engineering for these bits that fold up, that on the MP52 mould did have the wings attached to them. So it's just a purely cosmetic thing, and kind of pointless because it's on the back of the figure, which you're not going to see very often anyway. But it is what it is, and they were very cheap, so I thought I might as well get them to finish off the figures, and they work quite well. So yeah, once again, let's turn him around. Oh, you do have the option, I mentioned you've got this gimmick of the boosters that rotate. You can display him with his boosters out if you want. It's just Thrust, whichever look you prefer, but it's nice that they're giving you that option to hide the boosters away on Ramjet. So yeah, in summary, these are fantastic KOs that go the extra mile, have some innovative original design, work very well, look very well together, look very well alongside the MP52 mould in particular, of course, because of the scale and size issue, but I don't think they'd be out of place in any collection, whether you have the Make Toys, whether you have the Deformation Space. Yeah, I know a lot of people say, oh, I wish Deformation Space had done the Coneheads as well, but it seems they've kind of given up on that mould. They do occasionally throw out reissues of the Starscream, but they don't seem to be reissuing the Thundercracker or Skywarp repaints, whatever the reason for that. And Deformation Space, Transform Element, whatever they're calling themselves now, with Star Toy are indeed the same company, seem to have moved on to other things. One final point. The logos you see did not come on the figures out of the box. They're Ocean Design Hasbro Waterslide decals, which you can get from Robo Lucas Decal Store. Other decal stores are available, but obviously I'm going to promote my one. I'll put a link to that in the description as well. Lots of faction logo options, vinyl stickers for third-party figures. Please do check that out. Please do check out my other videos. Check me out on Instagram. And I hope you found this video useful today. Thank you for watching.